Hi everyone, my name is Hanne Vrebos. I'm a PhD researcher at the Center for Sociological Research at KU Leuven, holding a background in architectural engineering and urban planning. Today I will talk about the Storymapper, a citizen engagement tool we are developing, building on the concepts of participatory storytelling and placemaking. I will introduce a pilot study and give some first reflections on the chain of engagement we are trying to set up through this tool. For this, I have worked not only with colleagues from the Department of Sociology, but also with colleagues from the Department of Architecture. Some background information to start with. Today, the concept of participation is ubiquitous in urban transformation. Some of the foundations were laid in the 60s with an increasing interest to engage citizens into how their environment changed through urban planning and development. Fundamental work was done with the bottom-up planning of Jane Jacobs in New York and the ladder of participation by Sherry Arnstein, who stressed the importance of the power in decision-making in participatory processes. Often used, but also criticized, these concepts have been evolving continuously since. Some aspects that have influenced how these participatory practices, discourses, and research have evolved are the following. The understanding of place as dynamic and a site of plurality. The entanglement of the social and material environment that assigned a central role to place in research in the form of emplacement. A third is the growing interest in the sensory and especially the development of visual methods in various disciplines. Last but not least is the development of technology, computer, GIS systems, mobile devices, etc. These are only some of the aspects that have influenced the current wave of participation, defined by concepts such as co-creation and placemaking. These new participatory methods in digital or hybrid form add to existing methods such as town hall meetings, workshops, and surveys, using social media, smartphones, and tangible interfaces. With the pandemic, these digital methods become even more important. Just like other participatory projects, some similar concerns apply to these methods. How to ensure that these digital methods include everyone given the demand for digital access and digital skills. How to keep the engagement ongoing. The aspect of emplacement is an additional concern. The creation of a collaborative spirit is a challenge when more is happening digitally, remotely, and individually. Therefore, we have set up this collaboration to explore a relational public engagement approach to placemaking by developing the Storymapper. Today, I will present a first pilot. The Storymapper is a frame through which people augment the environment. A picture of the frame is then sent to a digital map. The Storymapper consists of three main elements. The first is morphing. This builds on principles of arts-based research and in particular photo voice. It builds on the idea, on the one hand, creating consciousness. On the other hand, that images have the capacity to provoke empathy. Participants are invited to engage directly with the environment by drawing on top of it. Second aspect is a chain of engagement. The idea is to remove the researcher as a central facilitator of the dialogue. Once participants send in their visual contribution, they hand over the tangible frame within their network. This to spark a dialogue between citizens, with the idea that this could reach beyond the usual suspects. This way we remove the researcher as a central facilitator of the process. The passing of a tangible tool and not just a virtual link, moreover, creates an emplaced connection. Lastly, the living map. To further the discussion digitally, this builds on principles of critical cartography to disrupt the status quo through the living format that is both living or dynamic and in the hands of citizens. The setting. The whole of Belgium has a challenge of what to do with the many unused churches. Nothing different for the municipality of Herent, where I live, as was the St. Laurentius Church of Veltenbessems, located in Herent, which no longer provided religious services. It was handed over to the municipality for community use. The municipality, in collaboration with a number of partners, decided to transform the church into a community center. Given the cultural sensitivity, the municipality sensed the necessity to run this transformation in a truly participatory way, and therefore worked with community to collect ideas, create a vision, and pilot a community council to govern the place. The trajectory combined pandemic-proof and blazed ID collection of future use with the construction of three wooden see-through mini churches, as visible in the photo. Here, citizens could fill in a simple form or write their ideas on a large board. These ideas were clustered and discussed in various workshops with stakeholders and citizens, out which some guidelines and a pilot council developed. It was at the level of the idea collection that we plugged in the Storymapper in this project. Given the strong emotions and memories connected to a community church, we saw the Storymapper as an addition to the project to collect visual input, where certain feelings might not be sufficiently expressed through words. Therefore, we launched a pilot in two parts. During the first part of about 2 weeks, 5 frames with instructions for independent use were distributed. The second part was a 1 day community event in and around the church. The two questions that were asked in the invitations can be seen on the right. In this presentation, I will discuss a few initial observations and reflection of this pilot, specifically on how the dialogue unfolded further. Firstly, the dialogue with the environment, based on the morphing. When initially handed out the frames, we noticed a willingness to share ideas, but a reluctance to draw. Some citizens refused and told us they cannot draw or asked to draw it for them. In the literature on art-based research, this is a known challenge. The standard idea of art is often based on mimesis, that art is supposed to be as lifelike as possible and also aesthetically pleasing. In the second phase, we therefore piloted the use of Lego as an alternative, aware of the constraints this puts on the participants. The contributions also showed that some participants used the frame as a white sheet of paper, not making the emplaced connection to the environment. The augmentation of the environment is something people are not used to. To address this, we made some tweaks into the instructions. The second dialogue, the dialogue with others. Chain of engagement. Once participants made their contribution, people are asked to scan a QR code that brings them to a web page where they can submit their photo. There they can add some explanatory words and some personal details and submit a story, after which they pass it on. For some reflections on this chain of engagements, first, for each pilot, we started off with 5 frames and had a return place and time written on them. With the first pilot, 1 frame didn't make it back, while in the second phase, we recovered 3 frames that were left behind during the 1 day pilot. The longest chain we managed to set up was 6 contributions, of which the two first ones were done in collaboration with a researcher, so 4 passings autonomously. This shows that the idea is still not fully operational. The chain is only as strong as the weakest link. We're addressing this by starting with multiple frames, selecting various gatekeepers to start the frame, and communicate about the project within their circles. But also, we're trying to communicate further about the project, link it with a larger project, and we try to organize a competition. A second thing we've noticed is that there's a reluctance to pass it on. Some participants expressed that they could not give the necessary instructions to the next person about the technicalities. Finally, the ongoing digital dialogue, or the living map. The contributions through the web page are then transferred to the living map, at this pilot stage still done by the researchers. For this, we have used the Padlet platform, an easy digital bulletin board that allows a cartographic layout. That by now is known by quite a lot of people through homework. It moreover is very easy to use and does not require a login, and citizens can leave comments and reactions. I'll show you how this looks. So this is the map of the village. I'll show you some of the contributions. Here you can see how people drew in the frame and left a small story with it. We noticed that the dialogue continued beyond the tool itself, and the platform was appropriated as citizens started pinning other photos to the map. This can be seen here or here. In total, we received 28 contributions on both maps, where about 6 were not made with the Storymapper, but with other pictures, as can be seen here. Moreover, we collected about 29 reactions and 2 comments. While the dialogue unfolded in some ways through the Storymapper, we are still looking to improve the tool through its 3 basic components of morphing, the chain of engagement, and the living map. This brings us to some reflections and questions to move forward. The first is the choice of platform that is key. For this, we have to balance option of open access, usability, functionality, and data. The idea is to take the researcher out and allow direct input and dialogue through the digital platform. But then how do we collect the necessary additional research data? A second concern or reflection is about technical challenges. Sometimes people do not manage to send a photo in through the app, as we noticed that some frames held contributions, but we didn't receive a picture of that. How could we overcome these technical challenges? The third reflection is on the question how to keep the dialogue open and how to make sure the link is made to stakeholders. Thanks to the close collaboration with the municipality, we could include some of the ideas in a wider discussion. We explore the idea of taking the researcher out as a central facilitator with the objective to give control to the citizens and stakeholders themselves. In the next project, we will therefore explore splitting up the different steps. We'll try to do a photo voice exercise with passing on a tangible tool with a QR code to the app a living map. Another development we want to explore is to start from photo voice and use the morphing as a way to interpret data in place. Thanks for watching. We would be happy to discuss this further with you.